G'day YouTube, Max right here, and I have probably one of the most important videos I'll ever make today. So guys, I want you to really pay attention to this because I've been thinking very, very deeply on how to be a good steward of money at this particular point in time. Where are we? We are March 22nd, 2021. I've got a lot of money coming in from different sources and I've got to come up with a plan for myself. How do I allocate that capital into different asset classes? What asset classes are going to boom? What asset classes are going to crash? How do I want to position myself to maximize my wealth? And of course, I have a lot of people who pay me very good money to teach them exactly the same thing. So this is going to be, this is what I've kind of come up with. I've been thinking deeply about this for the last few days. Has anything kind of changed from my previous thoughts? What's happening? What's happening? And I always come back to these three scenarios to consider. There's number one, there is helicopter money. This is, I would argue, the most likely scenario. Helicopter money, otherwise known as, pardon me, otherwise known as money printer go burr, otherwise known as modern monetary theory, otherwise known as age-old, well-practiced path to destruction. I love how modern monetary theory. It's like, let's do the same shit we always do and hope it goes better. No, it's not going to go better. So that's scenario number one. Print money to oblivion, all asset prices go up. Probably the most likely scenario in my opinion. Number two, they don't print. And if you know anything about economics, anything at all, which means you probably didn't go to economics school at university, but if you know anything about economics, you'll know that we're in an everything bubble. Real estate, stock market, even cryptocurrencies, it is all in a bubble. They're just printing, printing, printing. All that money just seeps through and financial assets go up. And so we're in a massive, massive bubble. Interest rates at zero, negative in some places, all of these things. It's extremely cheap, easy. You borrow a whole bunch of money, put it into anything, and the price of it will probably go up because they'll print more money and dilute the value of the currency, and then the price of things go up. So everything's in a bubble. If they ever stop doing that, if they even hint that they're going to do it, if the tone of a Federal Reserve announcement or interview suggests they're going to stop printing, then everything crashes. So this is another scenario. Deleveraging, known as the new Great Depression, known as a collapse of all assets and demand and an absolute disaster right across the entire economy. Scenario number two. Scenario number three, an extended period of status quo. They managed to kick the can down the road for some amount of years, longer than we would either like or expect. They managed to do that again. So there are the three scenarios. Price of everything goes up, price of everything goes down, price of everything going sideways. I haven't said anything too profound yet. That's just the way it works. Sadly, in all of this, a good, deep understanding of economics, which I've spent decades accruing, has led to the fact that it's pretty much all completely irrelevant. Knowing economics counts for absolutely nothing. The only question is, what's the government going to do? They've become, in all countries of the world, the entire world, they've become too big, they've become too powerful, capitalism is dead, free markets are dead, and all that matters is, what's the government going to do? And so the insiders know I'm not one of the insiders, so I have to sit here on the outside, look in, and come up with a plan that works no matter what they do. Where I, pardon my itchy nose, where I can be a good steward of money and position capital well to take advantage of no matter what they do. So let's go through each of the scenarios, and within each of the scenarios, we'll go through each of the asset classes somewhat briefly because there's not too much to this. And then we'll come back and review and see, well, okay, well, how do we position our portfolio so that we win no matter what happens? Scenario number one, helicopter money. They print and print and print, and they never let asset prices come down. They never let a crash happen. The stock market soars, real estate soars, cryptocurrency soars, everything soars. Why gold isn't soaring, I don't know. I can't explain that one. Makes no sense. Let's just go with manipulated market. Or the other thing is Bitcoin stole its lunch. That's another possibility. Okay, so all the major asset classes go up in comparison to dollars. Which one's going to go up the most? This one isn't so much a guess. This one we just know because we've been in this scenario for many years. And we haven't had a crash for, we're going now 13 years. And so we know this is the current situation. What's gone up the most in the last 13 years? It's Bitcoin. It's cryptocurrency. That is what I'll use those words interchangeably. I say Bitcoin because I've been in it for so long. Bitcoin is cryptocurrency. Of course, the cryptocurrency market ecosystem is so much bigger than just Bitcoin now, but old habits die hard. So I'm just going to use Bitcoin, but I really mean cryptocurrency. So what's going to go up the most in that scenario? Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up the most. Bitcoin is going to crush all other asset classes for two very simple reasons. So there's again, retroactive. It's been happening. We know this one. But why? Very simple. They're printing money, and it is a better, superior money. So the biggest, most immediate problem in the world is modern monetary theory, government screwing up economies, printing money. The world, the marketplace is desperate for a solution to that. They're running to everything else, stocks, bonds, real estate, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the most immediate, most accurate solution to it. Step one. Step two, we have network effects. We have Metcalfe's law. We have a huge demand in a growing network where the value of the network exponentially increases with the linear increase in the size of the network. So we got those two powerful forces working together. Bitcoin is the perfect solution to this problem that we have, and the network effect, Metcalfe's law, working for us. Okay, Bitcoin is going to win in that scenario. Let's take a look at deleveraging. Everything crashes. They tell us they're not going to print anymore. And what happens in that scenario? What happens in that scenario is the US dollar is the first stop. It is the immediate safe haven. Other things get liquidated, margin called, even other currencies. There is a flight to safety. The perceived safety will be US dollar. On the first stop, the perceived safety will be US dollar, meaning real estate will get smashed, stock markets will get smashed, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies will get smashed, other currencies, other fiat currencies will get smashed, and the dollar will be the place to be. I'll even go so far as to say, within this category of this massive deleveraging, Bitcoin will be one of the hardest hit. It will be one of the hardest hit. You have to brace yourself for that. If this scenario comes, you have to understand Bitcoin will be one of the hardest hit in this scenario. Okay, also in this scenario, what will happen at the other end of it, after the deleveraging, there will almost certainly be more money printing and a recovery. The more money printing is a maybe. I would say extremely likely, but it's a maybe. You have to consider the fact that maybe it's not. Maybe they stop printing all of a sudden. We go into a massive depression and they don't print. I can't imagine it, but let's consider it. In that scenario, then we are just in a very, very long, slow grind. And it's going to be a tough one. Cash flow assets or Bitcoin? I don't know. That one could go either way. I think probably Bitcoin in that scenario. But this is a very trivial case. We're in scenario 2. There was a massive deleveraging. And then the following step was they did not print money. Almost impossible for me to conceive. So now let's go massive deleveraging and they print money. This is the far more likely scenario within the deleveraging scenario. So everything crashes. Bitcoin, I think, crashes one of the most. In which case, what happens next? Bitcoin is the fastest to recover and leads the recovery. It just, boom, Bitcoin goes ballistic. There's also another possibility here. In the deleveraging, think 2008, you might see banks fail. You'll see all kinds of things fail. And so this is one of the reasons why Bitcoin does so well, because there's no third parties that you're interacting with. It is pure. It is wonderful. It is the hardest money there is. There are no third-party intermediaries that you need to deal with. Even with real estate, you're at the behest of all kinds of things. It's mobile. You can pack up, leave, go to another country if your country starts doing something abusive, outlaws it, whatever. So it is the most flexible, most pure, best hard money the world has ever seen. Its mobility and its censorship resistance all combine to say that it is going to do, after the initial shock and crash and the collapse that is that deleveraging scenario 2, there's a lot of things about Bitcoin that says it leads us out of that scenario. So scenario 1, helicopter money, Bitcoin just outperforms everything by a lot. Scenario 2, massive deleveraging. Bitcoin gets hit very, very hard, possibly the hardest, but very quickly comes out of it. I would say within 3 to 6 months, but let's just say 2 years, right? Let's say it takes 2 years for things to turn around. Okay, that's scenario number 2. Scenario number 3, an extended period of status quo, meaning it's kind of a situation now. I said scenario 1 was kind of like what's happened the last 13 years. Arguably, step 3 is what's happened the last 13 years. No major crashes, but the way they keep kicking the can down the road is they keep printing money, but for some strange reason, people still have faith in fiat currency. And we're just in this scenario. It's what's happened the last 13 years, and Bitcoin absolutely dominates and crushes, beats all other asset classes by a lot. So with all of that said, scenario 1, scenario 3, the place to be is Bitcoin. It's not like, gold's not going to do well, or real estate's not going to do well, or stocks. There are other things that do well, but nothing does as well as Bitcoin under scenarios 1 and scenarios 3. In scenario 2, there's something that does better for sure. That's the US dollar. US dollar will be an excellent place to be to ride out that deleveraging if it occurs at all in scenario 2. And then Bitcoin is very good. So if you have a long-term time horizon, Bitcoin just crushes all 3. If you can hold and survive and live through a serious deleveraging, Great Depression, multi-year misery, and you have the cash flow, you have the financial resources, you have the skills to thrive in that environment, and you can be there long term, Bitcoin is the place to be in all 3 scenarios. Now, why not sort of like, if we knew with certainty that the deleveraging was happening, we would be out of Bitcoin, we would wait for that crash, and we would come back in and buy Bitcoin cheap. But we don't know that scenario is going to happen, right? So there's only 2 asset classes that I can fathom as new money pours in from all my different streams of income. As new money pours in, the only place I can make sense of leaving it is in 2 places, cash and Bitcoin. I have some precious metals. I'm not selling those precious metals. I think that's another okay place to be. If you don't understand, cryptocurrency, if you don't understand Bitcoin, if it's too risky for you, if it's too other, I know it's true of like the older generation especially, I think precious metals is a good place to be. It pales in comparison to how good it is to be in Bitcoin, but it's an okay place to be. And there's another thing that we need to consider, a catastrophic Bitcoin event. It could be the algorithm gets screwed up. It could be all governments all around the world working in unison to outlaw Bitcoin and throw everyone in jail who owns Bitcoin. There's a couple of like absolutely crazy catastrophic scenarios that need to be considered. I don't think they're likely in any way, shape, or form, but there's something to be considered, and I think precious metals on the side is a pretty good insurance policy against that. If that happens, in order for them to do that, when they get to that stage, and I think it's borderline inevitable really that they'll get to it eventually, but Bitcoin might be $10 million per Bitcoin by the time that happens. When they get to it eventually, the system is so broken, so corrupt, that the masses are fleeing the fiat currencies in such volume, in such force, that they have to try and shut the doors. In which case, they're not going to not go to Bitcoin to go back to fiat. They're going to go to gold, they're going to go to silver, they're going to go to anything else. And quite frankly, in the vast majority of cases, I think people will just say, screw you, government. I'm not listening to you. You are trying to keep me penned into the pen of slaughter. It's like I'm the cattle trying to get out of the slaughter line. And you can make all the laws you want, but screw you, I'm keeping my Bitcoin because I can buy things on the black market with that. So something to consider. I'm not really worried about that, but I have some precious metals. I bought them way back, like in 2008, 9. I'm not selling them. They're there, and so be it. If the Bitcoin situation, cryptocurrency situation collapses, I've got that there, I'm safe. Okay. So the only two places to be really that even make any kind of sense to me is to just be in US dollars, I guess you could, and you can call that bonds, I guess, be in US dollars bonds, or go ahead and be in Bitcoin. As new money comes in for me, in my situation, the vast majority of funds I just put straight into crypto. That's where it goes. Just go straight into crypto now. I've got large cash reserves, and that's what we do. Remember, there's very important things that we could get bank holidays. We could get bail-ins like we saw in Cyprus. So holding cash needs to be done in a specific way. That's what we teach in the Success Council, by the way. And holding Bitcoin is another thing. You want to be able to hold that a certain way. You don't want to have it on exchanges. You don't want to leave it on Coinbase, leave it on Kraken. You want to have it. You want to eliminate all third parties, and you want to have the private keys. We teach you how to do that in Success Council as well. Okay? So I just wanted to go through that. Like went through that exercise the last few weeks, and I obviously spent I went down a lot of different rabbit holes and a lot of different directions and a lot of different things that can happen. And at the end of the day, it all comes back to me. There's only two places to be right now. US dollars, waiting for the deleveraging. Under all other scenarios, I'm in Bitcoin or crypto. So guys, I hope that helps. Let's jump now into Bitcoin. By the way, I guess if you, I mentioned Success Council. I don't often do that in YouTube, but in the link below, we're doing some webinars coming up here soon. So go ahead, sign up to a webinar. I'll go through a whole bunch of different scenarios for you. We'll flesh it out in more detail, and I'll explain what you get when you get Success Council membership also. And if you want to join, you can. If not, no worries at all. Let's go and do a quick market roundup here. Let's go and check out Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's in a really interesting place now. I really did think we were going to push through when we broke this high. Actually, let's bring this price up a little more. We broke through this high over here of 58,000 and we got up to the 60s, I really thought we were going to go through. However, that's not looking like the case. It's pulled back, and it showed, I'll be honest, that showed a little bit of weakness. To break through there and just stop a few $1,000s above there was a little bit of weakness. But on the same side, we've still got strength. We are still having higher lows. And so, all is not lost by a long stretch. The two things to notice. If we, even this little low here is interesting. If we have to come down and touch this green line, we'll have had two consecutive lower lows. If we break through this critical line of support, this green line, it's never been broken, ever. In the history of Bitcoin, that green line has never been broken. We've had a handful of touches on it. And if it breaks down below this green line of support, that will require another lower low, and that is something interesting. But until that happens, we're still looking good. Like I said, it showed a bit of sign of weakness, but we still had higher high on the bigger macro chart. All right, we still had, this was a lower here, but we were just a few days apart. This is kind of tight. If I throw that on the weekly, all of a sudden that disappears. So I'm not too worried about this. I really want to see this green line of support hold. That's critically important. I'll also, I know a lot of people are following this trade. So for those of you who don't know or are new to the channel, I shared with everybody right here at the beginning of this breakout candle. Well, actually, I gave everybody a few days heads up. So way back here, right? I think it was about here. I said, maybe it was this one. And I said, guys, this trend line has been established. The bull flag's been established. When we break out of this green line, I'm going to jump into a long trade, and my target will be $74,000. Okay? So I gave people 2 days heads up on that trade. We broke through, a lot of the subscribers jumped in on that trade, and we are riding it right here. I got in, personally, unless I've moved this, what is it? 49,000. I think I got in lower than that. That's not quite true. But anyway, I got in at 49,000, and we had the stop loss much lower. Yeah, it was lower than that. I'm sure of it. I got in at 46, I thought. Yeah, I got in at 46. So I must have bumped this or moved this, or sometimes when you open it a few times, it moves around. So I got in at 46. I'm not selling until we get to 70, around the 73, 74 mark, okay? My stop loss was originally down here, I think at 41, I believe it was. Once we got up here, I moved the stop loss all the way up here to now. The stop loss is actually above my buy price right now. So, and my stop loss right now will be up here around, I think I'll go a little bit higher than that. I think 50,700, somewhere around there. When I get off this video, I'm gonna reset my stop loss to 50,700. But there's something else I'm gonna do. I've been in a leverage trade, uh, and I do that on Kraken, and we are day 21 of this trade. Day 21 of this trade. Kraken only allows you to hold a leverage position for 30 days. After 30 days, even if you're in good standing, even if you're in profit, nothing to do with margin call, they will close out your trade. So what I'm going to do right now, we're in a little bit of a quiet spell right here. I'm going to close out of this trade and I'm going to start up a new trade just so I get my 30 days again with Kraken leverage. It's the only reason I'm doing it is to buy me another 30 days of leverage with Kraken. But other than that, I'm staying in the trade exactly as I would be. So just want to give everybody a heads up that that's what I'm going to do, which is a shame because I would have loved right there on Kraken. I can show the screenshot about making all this money in this one trade. So now I've got to break it up into two different trades, which I'm a little bit bummed about, but them's the breaks. So they're going to do that. Let's take a quick look at Bitcoin dominance. It's staying in this channel. Well, it kind of broke out again. And I think maybe even we need to re-establish this. We have a trend line down here at the moment. Let's see if it sticks here. But this trend line here, it's been broken through a couple of times now for a third time. So this trend line, I think, has been weakened to the point of non-existence. Out of here, trend line. Yeah. And maybe we're in this kind of a wedge. But nonetheless, we're just staying in this world of 60 to 62. That's where the Bitcoin dominance is living. And so, you can definitely find altcoins that massively outperform Bitcoin, no doubt about it. But the problem with that is, let's say you pick a niche. Let's say you think DeFi. You think DeFi's the tits. DeFi's going to be the next boom. We've got to do DeFi. DeFi's where it's at. And let's say you're right. A couple of coins in DeFi absolutely explode. But 10 of them shit the bed. And so the Bitcoin dominance doesn't move. So your risk-adjusted return, I don't see much value in going outside into the ecosystem and just spending the time. If you spend the time and energy and the weeks to go through all the altcoins and find the gems, you can make the argument. But I'll tell you, there's another little secret. The big YouTube channels, the 500,000 subscribers, the 400,000 subscribers, the 300,000 subscribers, they make the market move more than anything else. When they do a brand new video about it, if you can get that video and be in the first 1,000 viewers of that video, sometimes it's very worthwhile. Just go ahead and buying that coin just because they say, make it a 24-hour trade, get out. 9 times out of 10, you're going to make profit. I think that's even more effective than going and doing the research on the coins yourself, because those guys can move the market. So something to consider. If you're going to venture out into the altcoin world, that's how I do it. It's a cheap, dirty, nasty way to do it, but it's actually better use of my time because I got so many fingers in so many pies. There's real estate and Bitcoin and the business and so many things I got to do. Going and searching through 100 coins looking for gems. I know that's what a lot of subscribers love to see, but there's a cheap, dirty, nasty way to do it without all the research, without all the headaches. So that's what I want to do. Think about that for a clue. It's all about getting the best use of your time, right? Your time is the most valuable resource you have, so get good value out of it. And you know what? I'm going to do one other thing here. Let's take a look at SimplyHodl. So SimplyHodl, arguably the best news site in all of crypto. It's just like Drudge was. It's super ugly, it's ghetto, but it's updated every single day, and it's cut into crypto articles, crypto YouTube, and crypto Twitter. So however you like to receive your news, you just go to your column and you're off to the races. So a couple of important things here. We got investors pouring over $100 million into new Bitcoin IRA programs. So this is important. So this is people in their retirement vehicles or starting retirement vehicles and their IRAs and their other bits and pieces are pouring into Bitcoin. And what's very important about this is understanding that. I think what is going to happen, we've been talking about it for years, so it might not happen this year, but Canada has allowed 3 Bitcoin ETFs. An ETF, it's something that trades like a stock symbol, and you can get in and out much easier. It's a lot easier than the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. If you're not unaware, you can buy just from your TD Ameritrade account or whatever accounts you use when you're buying stocks and selling stocks, whatever. You can buy the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. But it's an interesting device, it's an interesting mechanism. When you buy, you actually can't sell for 6 months. It's not a liquid investment, and there's a whole bunch of rules around it. An ETF would be the purest form, where you get in, you could sell 2 minutes later, and it's this thing that you can just hold, and it's a lot more liquid, and it works a lot better than what the Grayscale Trust is going to work. The SEC has not allowed any in America yet. Canada has allowed 3, and I think they're coming very, very soon to America. Hopefully this year. If not, when that happens, the ability for all of the vehicles, we're talking just from your retail investor to your big Bitcoin trust to your other things, the price of crypto and Bitcoin is just going to go ballistic, in my opinion. So what are you going to do? Get involved in crypto now. It's the place to be. It's absolutely the place to be. My eye just fell on this one. $73,000 target if Bitcoin follows this pattern. Yeah, that's pretty much my prediction too. I think the next kind of stop where Bitcoin's going to pause and hold out for a little while is going to be around the $73,000 mark. What else have we got? Just my eye fell on that. Deutsche Bank. It's like, haven't you collapsed yet, Deutsche Bank? No. They're now saying Bitcoin's now the 3rd largest currency in the world. So that's fascinating. The Bitcoin hitting the $1 trillion marketplace, that's huge. So guys, I'm going to leave that with you. So check out SimplyHodl. Now let me know in the description. I want to go back to, yeah, no, I'm pretty confident. Yes. Let's go back to our 3 scenarios. What do you think is the most likely of the 3 scenarios that is going to happen? I will say, look, it's a toss-up between these two. Either we're going to have a deleveraging followed by helicopter money or straight to helicopter money. That's what I think. What do you think? And next, what do you think is the best asset class to go into each of those scenarios? Does your kind of logic take you to the same place as me, where it's almost Bitcoin's the best place to be no matter what? And in the scenarios where it's not, it recovers very, very quickly. So it's just an amazing risk-adjusted investment, I think. Let me know in the comments below, have we got that right, or am I missing something? Because I'd love to find out I'm missing something so that I could make an adjustment to my plan. Okay, guys, take care. Please hit the like button, subscribe. Lots of cool things coming, and I'll see you soon. Take care.